Hello everyone. Before we start, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with where you're from and what time you're watching. That way YouTube will keep showing you stories just like this one. Now let's begin. Story 1. The Lantern Below Blood Mountain. I'm Tyler Grackle Pierce, former Eagle Scout, hiking the approach with my fiancée Jess before grad school, April 2024. A late afternoon drizzle turned the rhododendron tunnel into a dripping maze. By dusk, we pitched our tent on a ledge half a mile south of the stone hut, convinced the panoramic sunrise would be worth the damp boots. As we boiled ramen, a third crunch of gravel circled the campsite, too heavy for deer, too measured for bear. Inciting alarm, only 2 sets of footprints marked the mud, yet the leaves rustled in perfect syncopation with ours, as if someone mirrored every step a beat later. We pushed tension aside until midnight, when the whisper started, a single word: lantern, floating down slope on wind that smelled of wet granite. Rising dread grew each time it repeated, inches closer, never louder. Jess remembered trail forums about a Civil War signalman who vanished here in 1864, last seen carrying a railroad lantern to warn Sherman's troops. Locals claim he still patrols ridgelines lost between centuries. We killed our headlamps, but an orange glow bobbed among the black trunks, 2, then 3, then 1 again, pacing an invisible switchback toward our tent. Heartbeat thundering, we crawled out, hoping to confront a night hiker. Instead, the glow blinked out, leaving only the hiss of rain on nylon and that extra crunch circling. Jess's breath formed clouds that hung unnaturally still. Climax punched when our tent poles shuddered and the zipper slid itself open. A hand-size iron railway lock clattered onto my sleeping bag, ice cold despite the humid night. Outcome, we fled uphill to the stone shelter, scrambling inside to find it already lit by a lone kerosene lantern set on the hearth flame, blue and silent, no one else there. A handwritten note beneath read, "Trains do signal the flames." Twist, Stinger at Dawn Park Rangers found us huddled in the hut. They swear it's been padlocked since December. The lantern tagged artifact, number 1864 BMIA, locked in a Marietta museum 40 miles away. Yet my phone's step counter still logs a third gate, 2:13 a.m. to 3:06 a.m., pacing outside our tent in perfect circles, waiting for the next train that never comes. Story 2. The string that played itself at Fontana Dam. Moonlit water lapped the concrete face of North Carolina's Fontana Lake like a muted metronome, and the trail name whispers around the shelter called it the Hilton of the Smokies because of the view. Yet that night, every hiker inside felt like a backstage extra for something tuning up. Hook first, 200 chars. You can ignore a creaking bunk or a mouse rustle. But when an unseen fiddle saws one slow note in the dark timberline above Fontana Dam, every nerve strings itself tighter than catgut. Setting an atmosphere, early May 2024, soft mist evening, lightning bugs hovering over wet hemlock, the roar of the dam's turbines faint but steady. 11 thru-hikers me nicknamed Plot Twist, and my cousin Nora Nopack claimed bunks happy for the privy and water spigot. Our motive, a 0-day feast before climbing into the Smokies' high slog. Nora had stress-fractured toes and needed rest, while I documented her journey for a podcast. Inciting incident around 1:17 a.m. The turbines hiccuped, 3-second silence, then a single violin note floated down slope, sustained so long the air itself seemed to hold its breath. Every bunk creaked as heads lifted. Nobody carried instruments. Rising tension. Footfalls crunched outside. Crunch, crunch. Our boots followed by a softer crump. A third pair again measured, deliberate, pacing the gravel. I counted shadows on the wall cast by headlamps left charging. A moving 13th silhouette glided without sound. Clues and legends a ridge runner once told us about. Isaac Denton, Depression-era CC fiddler who drowned helping build the dam. Locals claim his Strad copy resurfaced every spring, thaw, strings humming when lake mist touched hardwood. Old trail registers warn if Isaac plays, keep walking, never harmonize. Climax. The note bent into a wheeze of rosin and sorrow as a shape drifted to the shelter threshold. Man tall, face obscured by lake fog, bow drawing across invisible strings. My recorder app popped to life, unprompted waveform peaking red, though the mic caught no frequency. Humans here. The turbines resumed, rumbling a bass line that made the melody ache with dissonance. Nora's fractured toes throbbed. She whispered she felt them being pulled like pegs. In the dim, I saw her boots unlacing themselves, strings tightening around her ankles like violin wire. Outcome, I lunged, slashing the laces with my multi-tool. The fogman recoiled, bow screeching a chord that shattered the plastic shelter window. Wind exploded through scattering trail logs and soda cans into the lake. Silence rushed in. The silhouette vanished. Twists, stinger. Next dawn, maintenance crews found a water-warped fiddle floating upright beside the dam's generator outflow. E-string snapped except for a frayed end braided neatly through two soaking wet bootlaces. Nora's size 9 tied in a sailor's knot. No one in camp knew. When I replayed my recorder, the track was empty except 13 seconds of turbine silence followed by a soft male whisper. Your turn to keep tempo. Story 3. The ice bell at Roan High Knob Shelter. Snow swallows every sound on Tennessee's Roan Massif, so when a bell rings once in whiteout darkness, you wonder if the mountain itself is tolling last rites. I'm Mark Paperclip Givens, winter section hiker chasing trail cred before turning 40. February 2025, bivouacked with two strangers, Beth Sunfreeze Muller and ex-Marine Kent Coyote, inside the lofted Roan High Knob Fire Warden cabin, the highest shelter on the AT. Setting and atmosphere. Wind howled through spruce like distant artillery temperature. 6 degrees, our breath hanging in halos beneath rafters charred by long-dead potbelly stoves. Motive: Beth nursed a torn ligament but refused to bail. Kent carried a satellite phone yet claimed the storm-built character. Inciting incident just after 2:00 a.m., the crackle of our dying firewood cut out literal silence as 3 crisp boot crunches circled the shelter, though we'd hauled ladder inside. No animal prints would reach the second-story door, perched 8 feet high. Rising tension, Kent cocked his head. A second set of crunches echoed, then a third, lighter, off-tempo, like invisible patrol doing night rounds. A single brass handbell chimed outside, note pure enough to feel in our molars. Revealing clues and legends, trail registers upstairs mention Bellman Ike, a 1910 fire warden who froze extracting ice samples from a well beneath the cabin. Rescuers found him kneeling, bell in hand, boots stripped off and laces braided into a noose around the well bucket rope. They say he still rings for help when storms lock Roan tight. Climax. The trapdoor rattled. Snow sifted through gaps where no snow could reach. Kent hefted his hatchet, lifted the door, nothing, yet his boot dragged forward as if lassoed. Beth screamed, her own unlaced boot skated toward the hole, pulled by a braid of frozen rawhide snaking up from the darkness. Our headlamps flickered. The brass bell tolled twice more from below the floorboards. Outcome, I jammed a titanium tent stake into the latch pinning the rope. Kent hacked it free, splinters flying, while Beth lobbed a stove canister down the well. A roar of pressurized gas echoed, then eerie silence. The rope slackened, retreating like a severed vein into black water. Twist stinger dawn brought bluebird calm. Clambering outside, we saw only our own footprints, but an extra track line began at the well's buried hatch, marched halfway across the snowfield, and vanished mid-stride. Where the final print ended, the brass bell sat upright, ice-rimmed clapper fused to Beth's missing bootlace, knotted in a sailor's loop no one of us knew. My GPS track later showed a fourth waypoint ping exactly 3:33 a.m. tagged Station 3 Bellman, though no satellite connection existed in the storm. Story 4. The Lanternless Mile at McAfee Knob Descent Day. Hikers swarm Virginia's McAfee Knob for Instagram sunrise, yet few bivouac on the ledge after sunset when the Catawba Valley floods with ink. I, Olivia Tessera Ramos, geology grad collecting quartzite samples, talked ultra runner Rick Jetpack Lyles into an overnight so my headlamp battery could recharge in daylight. Opening hook 120 chars. We thought the descent would be routine until our footsteps gained an echo, soft leather soles pacing exactly one beat behind. Setting an atmosphere, June humidity thick with honeysuckle, distant freight horn drifting from Roanoke dusk shadows, turning boulder fields into yawning maws. Main characters and motive, Rick's goal was speed training. Mine rock cores for a thesis on ancient floodplains. We camped near mile marker 704, planning pre-dawn switchback descent. Inciting incident at 3:14 a.m. An owl shriek sliced the dark, and Rick insisted we bail early. As we broke camp, our boots crunched limestone chips, crunch, crunch, followed by a softer tap like dress shoes. No one else registered at the shelter log. Wheezing tension headlamps formed jittery cones. Every 90 seconds, the rear light flickered and the third tap closed distance. Rick whistled. The sound returned, warped half-tempo, as though a phonograph played us back in reverse. Clues and legends. A Catawba historian once told me of Tobias Finch, 19th century traveling preacher who guided lost soldiers with a lantern until a rock slide buried him. Locals claim he still patrols the trail, searching for light, stealing it if hikers linger. Climax, halfway down, both lamps died simultaneously, plunging us into velvet dark. A warm amber glow bloomed ahead, lantern-shaped, floating 3 feet above ground. It bobbed nearer until its radiance painted a gaunt figure with no eyes, empty sockets reflecting our silhouettes. His boots were polished leather, a third pair on the trail. The glow winked out, leaving blackness so total I felt color drain from memory. Rick screamed. I smelled hot wax. Outcome, sparks burst as I smacked my spare battery against granite, reviving my lamp for one heartbeat, just enough to see Rick's headlamp lens melting like candle glass straps braided into a noose around his neck. I slashed it free with my rock hammer. The darkness recoiled uphill, dragging the amber glow like retreating embers. We barrel-rolled the remaining switchbacks, knees bloody, reaching VA 311 parking lot by dawn. Twist Stinger Rangers reviewing trail cam footage saw only 2 lights descending hours until 3:33 a.m., when a third amber orb materialized behind us, pausing at every switchback before merging into Rick's pack. My quartzite samples later glowed faint orange under UV, each etched with minuscule braided patterns, resembling twisted bootlaces spiraling inward to a single word, GUIDE. Story 5. The Half-Gallon Echo at Pine Grove. Furnace, Pennsylvania's half-gallon challenge lures through hikers to devour 1.5 quarts of ice cream at the midway point, but long after the camp store shutters, the chilled sweetness curdles into something the forest won't digest. I'm Dana Sugar Crash Singh, food blogger chasing clicks, tag-teamed with trail angel Mason Gear Mule Hargrove to film nocturnal footage at the 2025 Solstice Festival. Hook a camera light can make anything look safe right up until a third set of footprints walks into frame without a body to cast it. Setting an atmosphere, midnight mist oozed from Tom's Run like spilled milk, fireflies pulsing Morse code through towering white pines, and Pine Grove Furnace's iron ruins loomed rust black against a smothered moon. Main characters and motive: Mason hauled gear. I sought the viral money shot of someone finishing the last spoonful by headlamp glow. We camped beside the old charcoal hearths, cameras on motion record. Inciting incident. At 1:11 a.m., my GoPro pinged movement playback, revealed our sleeping bags undisturbed, yet a looming shadow rocking back and forth as though cheering an invisible eater. Rising tension, we woke to crunch, crunch, crump, 2 boot tracks ours, plus a soft third pad barefoot circling the fire ring. My drone left charging, lifted itself off the ground, stabilizers whining, then froze midair, lens pointing toward the dark shell of the Iron Master's mansion. Revealing clues and legends, local lore whispers about Silas Merrick, a Civil War deserter who hid in the iron furnace tunnels, surviving on stolen cream. Caught and locked inside a cooling stack, he clawed free, leaving bloody toe prints that led nowhere. Hikers swear Merrick still haunts the halfway marker, demanding half a gallon for half a soul. Climax. The mansion door, boarded since 2018, stood ajar, wafting freezer-cold air scented of sour vanilla.